So the second question we have is going to be for Ricardo. And I actually have to tell you, Ricardo was one of the very first UX designer that I know. Because when Ricardo first started, the field was just starting to be established. So at that time, the terminology that's being used is kind of diverse. Some people call interaction design, interactive design, and Ricardo was one of the first persons to say, "Hey, CJ, I got a job." I said, well, "Great. What do you do now?" I'm a UX designer. So we have a question for you, Ricardo.
Okay, so Ricardo, you worked as an experienced designer when the profession was just starting to form. Could you share with us some of the changes happened in this field since 2013?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2013 is when I graduated from FIT. It was my essentially second go at college. But the term UX, yeah, to CJ's point, was becoming the next hot thing right around 2011, 12, 13, more or less. So I came pretty fresh on that term. But design thinking is really the grandfather of it all, and I think every company has been doing design thinking. Well, not every, but a lot of these big agencies. And one of the big differences that I'm seeing is that before design thinking came from places like RGA or Frog or IDEO or again Apple, some of these big name companies that almost kept those terms for themselves and kept the talent to themselves. It was also something that led to agile development. So a lot of the thinking was coming from an engineering first approach. So that was something that I was seeing when we worked with clients. A lot of it was very much an engineering first approach. They figure out how to build it first. And then once it launched, they figure out, okay, what are the new features that needs to be included on the software, or what are the tools that need to be built. So again, a little bit backwards, but that's kind of what I was seeing. And really everyone was just trying to figure things out. Again, it was all so new that whenever I was interviewing, whenever I was asking questions, talking to people, everyone had a very different answer. And no company really understood the term fully. But I think what they did know is that, hey, design is a thing that we all need to be aware of. UX, user experience, those are terms that we all now need to be taken into consideration. I mentioned Apple. Everyone was looking at Apple. The iPhone became a thing 2007, 8, 9, and right around that time is when everyone started paying attention, right? How can we do what they're doing? How can we bring design thinking, into the stuff that they're building? So that was definitely something that I saw. I think today is a little bit different. Today, there's more structure into what's being done. Um, Obviously, again, design thinking is still a thing, but I think, or at least for me, one of the things that I tend to be doing in the places that I've worked at is usually we'll do something like a discovery phase and a define phase, and then from there on, we'll go into designing. And then once the product has launched, how can we iterate based on our learnings? So it feels much more structured. I think the other thing is there are many more titles. Where again, before everyone was kind of trying to figure it out. Now it's much more clear that what UX does, there's more of a process behind that. As I mentioned, there can be things like a UX researcher, UX copywriters are other terms that I'm hearing. When it comes down to UI design, there's that too. Strictly focusing on the visual side of things. So again, more terms, more companies. Product design has also become a really, really hot thing in the past like 2 years. I want to say where a lot of companies are moving away from those big agencies, and not to say that we're doing less work, but really there are just many more opportunities. You have companies who are building their own teams, building their own talent, and again, if they can build talent, around that for companies, just much cheaper, right? It's a lot less, costly. So for them, it works great, and for I think us as professionals, we just have more options, more opportunities.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. we wrote actually the
Mhm.
first user experience design class in 2011, which was really early. And honestly, at that time, was still trying to figure it out. And I definitely see what you, Ricardo, is talking about. It becomes more systematic now. We now have methodologies that's established that can help us really figure things out quicker. And there are different models we can approach and solve particular problems. So
Sure.
before I let you go to the next question, since now you're on the senior side, you have been reviewing portfolio. I think a lot of audiences probably want to know, because this is a question that I got asked a lot. What is the main differences between a user experience design portfolio or a user interface designer's portfolio?
Sure. Yeah. So that's a great question. I think UX in general has a lot more process, and I love what Emily was talking about when she was saying, "Hey, try to show your thinking." And I think that is at the core of what UX is doing, right? You're understanding best practices. You're understanding how software is built. Definitely, again, showing process at the very beginning, trying to show, "Hey, here's the problem, right? Here's the challenge, and this is how we solve it." I think with visual design and UI, you can start off with flashy stuff. You can start off with beautiful visuals. You can start off with things that look sharp, and then follow up with other process as well. But I think for UX, it's much more important for you to show, hey, this is how I think, and these are the ways that we came to our conclusions.
Great. Thanks for sharing that insight.